Royal Exclusive is launching our first live show and you can be part of the audience. Join me at our HQ in the heart of London to put your questions to legendary Sun Raw photographer Arthur Edwards and former BBC Raw correspondent Jenny Bond. Head to the link in the description below for tickets.
My own view is that whether they ran out of friends or things to do in America, which, hang on a minute, it can't be that bad living in the size mansion they do, and they've still got quite a bit of cash to make life worth living. So it isn't that bad a story. So I haven't got a great deal of sympathy for them. But I do appreciate that he, as I said to you, a prince of the realm, and up and just prior to Brexit, Megxit rather, he was more popular than the Queen. So, this guy is quite important. He has a personality, he has a style that's so unique that quite frankly, he thought he could do 6 months in and 6 months out. It hasn't worked out like that because the Queen wouldn't allow that. But he's still got something to offer. It's a question of how he puts it together with his wife and family to see if he can achieve some sort of comeback. Let's look at the King and Queen at the moment, both now in their late 70s. William and Kate seem not to be at it at the moment for probably good reason. So is there a slot for him? I don't know.
No.
I think we've got to wait and see what happens because the answer is, I don't know. But going back to these fallouts within their household, as I said, this happens. It happens in any big unit. Particularly it happened in my time with the Prince of Wales office and the Prince's office as it was then. So I don't see anything unusual about that, where people making statements to the media, what some good, some bad.
When you worked, or when you're in Kensington Palace, or when you worked with Princess Diana, what was the kind of atmosphere because there was a War of the Waleses at that stage as well, wasn't there? What was the atmosphere working with Diana when she was seeing critical stories in the newspaper, then positive stories in the newspaper? Because look, Harry is Diana's son, so he's going to have certain traits that his mother had. How did she react to both negative and positive press?
Well, during the mid-'80s, the press coverage of Diana was highly positive. It was only when the media got wind of the real story surrounding her and the introduction of Camilla, etc., that the storyline changed. So there was a lot of truth, a lot of untruth in that. Diana dealt with that remarkably well. I have to say that, given the unhappiness of her marriage at that time, to perform on a daily basis with the public was not easy. And so, yeah, she did deal with it. And I think, that's part of being royal. The royal family themselves have had to do this with all the accusations, particularly with the late Duke of Edinburgh, etc., and even the King himself now. I think they're very good at adapting to it, dealing with it and moving on. And I think Harry has to do the same, and he will do. There's no question of that.
Do you see... talk about, I just mentioned there, obviously, Harry is Diana's son. They must have certain traits. Do you see many similarities between Prince Harry and Princess Diana from when you knew her?
Do I see any similarities? I think, yes, they're both entertainers. Harry was always the court jester as a child.
Right.
Part of the problem with him and his brother was that William was somewhat jealous of his popularity. But like his mother, she liked to be entertained. She liked to be popular. I think this is what Harry, he was popular, certainly when he was here in the United Kingdom. And I think he still is now in America. For the negativeness that's come out of these last 2 articles, people will say that he's actually very fun to be with. He's very good in meetings. He's always mindful and careful of how he speaks to his staff, etc., which was a classic Diana. She was very generous. She was a gift-giving. Harry's exactly the same. This is how the Spencers, I think, operated. But I do see similarities. I do see similarities.
Yeah, you mentioned the Spencers there, because obviously Harry spent a lot of time when he was over last. He was with Earl Spencer. Is that side of the family that he might start leaning on now, the Spencers?
Well, it was quite interesting, wasn't it, that he spent time with Earl Spencer, but that would be expected. We saw William, didn't we, when Lady Sarah McCorkindale was at that engagement alongside him at Cranwell a few days later. I think you were there. So I think the Spencers throughout history have always played both sides off against the middle when it comes to the crown.
Well, I think that, for me, I'll never forget Spencer's eulogy at Diana's funeral. That was barbed in so many ways. The Spencers, they're quite a close unit, despite, their history. But Charles Spencer, who, I have quite a lot of time for, and I think it was always going to be his responsibility that he would look after, William and Harry wherever he could. And I think the move in recently of Harry's meeting with him was symptomatic of what he would want. Yeah, at least he has a bolt hole there. But I think there are similarities definitely.
Lovely. All right. Is it too early to start talking about Christmas? We're only in September at the moment.
Well, Royal Christmas.
Royal Christmas.
It's inevitable, isn't it? Because we always get it. What are they going to be eating? How to do that?
Well,
under the tree. Every year it comes around.
This week.
Is there a boar on the a boar on the sideboard, as Mervyn would say? All sorts of.
This week, Princess of Wales held her first meeting. We're told,
Yeah.
her second meeting of the year. It appeared in the court circular. It was to do with her Christmas Carol concert. Did you watch the Christmas Carol concert in previous years? So she's coming. So she's held her first meeting, and we're hoping that we will see her on filming in December, and it will be screened on Christmas Eve. We haven't seen much of her. I mean, is this welcome news, Rob, that she's actually holding these meetings to hold?
I think this is more to do with the way that the PR department are trying to handle the absence of Catherine. An totally justifiable and understandable absence. But obviously they're trying to show the world that, whilst they're not seeing photographs of her, while they're not seeing pictures of her engagements, she's active and she's doing the duties, and that's why they're highlighting these things in the court circular. I must admit, 35 years covering the royal family, it's the first time I've ever had press officers saying, "Oh, take a quick look at the court circular," as if it's going to be the lead news item. So, look, I think it's surprising if you put in all the meetings that the King had when he was Prince of Wales. I mean, it'll just take up too much time. And I think if you did that for every single member of the royal family, it would look a bit odd. I think they're doing it for Catherine because it's just to show the world that she's back doing work.
Well, they had to, because when she put that video out that suggested that said that the treatment was over, they told us that she would start holding meetings and would start appearing in the court circular. So this is what she said. She said she will go back to work, but she's not being seen in public yet. She's not actually doing any kind of public things. But I'm looking forward to the Christmas thing. It's a good event. It's a really good event. You have royals there, you have celebrities there, you have the Princess of Wales. She played piano there with Tom Walker, I think, in the first year. It's an annual bonanza now.
Yeah, she definitely will be involved in doing that, and that's because it's become a part of it's going to be part of the Christmas calendar, and her involvement in the Christmas calendar going forward. You see all the younger members and the cousins, etc., at the event, and it becomes something just in the run-up in the media calendar. So, yeah, she'll definitely be involved.
Okay, lovely. All right, guys. We've got time for our quick-fire in your opinion questions, if you are ready for them. Ken, I'm going to start with you. So, obviously, amid the Harry and Meghan bad boss row, as it's written here, who do you believe would be the best member of the royal family to work for? Because remember, you did work for some, so who would be the best currently?
For me, at the moment now, I'd go for the King. Okay. I tell you why, I'm completely on the opposite side when I was working with Diana. But what I would say is that he understood the difficulties of staff on both sides, because the staff knew of their marital problems, but that was their problem. But he was very sensitive and very generous. And I always remember at Highgrove, that he would make available, all the food that their chefs cooked, the accommodation, etc. So we were indeed privileged for that. Plus, he has a sense of humour.